Right, I am sitting with Cyril Ralph in his house, Oak Lodge, Polton Lane, Ash, and it's the 28th of January 2011. Cyril, can you tell me how old you are?
Well, I was born in 1923, but you'll have to work it out for yourself. From that, I'm 80 something or other.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you remember when war broke out, the day war broke out?
Not vividly, but yes, I was at Manwoods around about that time, and well remember old Chamberlain and his speech to say war had been declared. Yeah.
Yep. Mm. But then you were still at school at that time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, only just started. Yeah, only just started, sort of thing. I went there in 1936 to start school at Manwoods.
Yep.
I've written quite a bit about going to Mr. Scank's.
Right. Okay. But did Manwood stay in Sandwich?
No. Right at the beginning of the war, they decided to evacuate the Medway towns, or the children out of the Medway towns, and one of the grammar schools from the Medway towns was evacuated on to Manwood School. So they came this way, and that stayed like that until Dunkirk. Then after Dunkirk, everything switched, and Manwoods, and they were finished up in North Wales.
But by that time you'd left Manwoods?
I left before they were off to Wales. I bailed out. Yeah, I came out. Well, I got to remove, and so yep. I think the family took the hint. Yeah.
Do you remember being given your old gas mask?
Well, I probably had to queue up somewhere and were handed out a gas mask, but
did it fit?
I don't know. I never used it.
Did you ever have to carry it? I remember having to carry mine.
No. There again, they hadn't started carrying gas masks up until the time I left school.
No.
And then after I left school, well then, no, never thought much about it. No. But there were an awful lot of people that were running around with gas masks, and they had, now let's put that straight. There was the bag that the gas mask should be in, but they had library books and God knows what is in there. Very few people had their gas mask.
Right. Okay. What about the blackout? Can you remember that?
Oh yes. Again, it was pretty strict, but yeah. One thing was sticking in ribs of paper up your windows so that they just stopped the glass flying around, and then there was the blackout. By that time we were living in Gilton House,
yep.
and Gilton House had shutters, so all we had to do was pull the shutters, and we was right. Well away. Yeah.
You never had the air raid warden coming around and showing a chink?
Well, we didn't, as far as I know, but they were around, and they would have done if they'd have seen a chink. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah. So air raid precautions. You didn't have a dugout or anything to get into, did you? You didn't have an air raid shelter.
Yes. There again, Father was in the 1914-18 war, so he knew a bit about dugouts.
Yep.
And we had a bank in the lawn.
Yes.
Down at Gilton House, and so he dug out a hole in the bank and built a galvanised iron thing in there, and then plonked dirt over the top of it, and that was our dugout. But I remember coming home from Sandwich one day. I was going up with a girl in Sandwich, and I came home about tea time, and there was an air raid on, and her mother and father were standing in the air raid shelter saying, "Come on in here," and early part of the war, Jerry used to fly over in formation.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so there was, I think it was 24 bombers
Yep.
sort of circling over, and that, they were in there. But again, I thought, well, they're not interested in me. and I think we'd only got about 3 fighters in those days, so you didn't see much of, much opposition to
Right.
them.
So you never had to get into the air raid shelter during the night at all?
No, I never went in there in the daytime.
That was just a homemade air raid shelter. People had things called Andersons.
Yeah.
That was the garden one, and then the Morrison was the
A big
indoor one.
an in table, yeah.
We used it for the chickens, if I remember rightly.
The Andersons got used for all sorts of weird things. They were good things to store your potatoes in, because they were pretty well frost-proof, being down in the ground. Yeah.
Yep. So there were occasions when air raids happened and you had to take precautions.
Oh yeah. Well, if there was an air raid, the people used to be standing down the road looking at it most of the time. It wasn't a good idea because, well, again, early in the war, I think we only had about 6 anti-aircraft guns.
Yes.
But as things progressed and more anti-aircraft stuff came around, then it became increasingly tricky to be outdoors while it was going on, because there was all sorts of
bits flying,
bits flying in all directions.
Yes,
I think Bill West along Shetland, and he got killed by a anti-aircraft shell that didn't go off up there but came down here, and he was walking round the corner of the house as the anti-aircraft shell came the other way and blew him up.
Blew up?
Yeah. And that was the end of him, poor fellow.
No, that's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, were there many people hurt during that time that you know?
No, it's remarkable how few. Again, we have one experience during the war of Jerry bombing. He came over, and I think he said, "Sod this for a game of soldiers," and turned round and went back home and pulled the chain and let his. But then he dropped his bombs right through ash. But again, nobody was hurt.
No. What about the doodlebugs? They came later. Did they come your way?
Well, yeah. I can tell you one experience I had of a doodlebug, and that was I was upstairs having a shave, and that was when we were in Gilton House.
Yeah.
And there was a Beaufort gun half along the flats at the radar station.
Yep.
And I heard this Beaufort gun go. So the bath was in front of the window, so I had to stand in the bath and stick my head out the window. And there was a doodlebug with its engine stopped right over the top of Mass Church.
Oof.
So I jumped out of the washroom, shouted to everybody to lay down, and down and out the front door to see what was going on. And by this time, this doodlebug had got about halfway between us and the volunteer.
Yes.
And it was only about 100 feet up, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then it sort of went, and then turned down, and it came down at Nell.
Oh, yes. Now I've heard about that. Was where the chickens got.
That's right. Yeah, old Stickles had chickens out on the Grattans to clean up the corn. Yep. And this blooming doodlebug landed right in amongst them, and the chicken houses blew over, and the air was full of chickens and chicken feathers. But again, no one was hurt.
Yep. Now another thing that was going on those times was the big gun that was down at Durlock.
Well, there was 2 big guns actually.
Oh, were there?
Yes, there was one at Poulton.
One at Poulton?
Yeah, well, one just down. There was just down the bottom of the hill there. There was on the left. There was a siding there.
Yes.
And that's where the gun was placed there.
Right.
And the soldiers they had a camp. They were in they weren't at Durlock. They were encamped at Bolton.
Oh, right.
And and right at the beginning of the war, Questies were still in Bolton.
Yes. Yeah.
But they evaporated, and the place was empty for a while. And then the soldiers, they requisitioned it, and they were in there for quite a while.
Right.
And they also built, I think it was 3 or 4, you know, the old Nissen huts up in the orchard.
Yep.
And I've got a picture of the camp somewhere. And
well, we'll have to look that one up, please.
Yeah. Well, all the lads that were around. And,
now, were you here when it fired, that gun?
Yeah. They only fired them a couple of times.
Yes.
And again, no great damage was done, but there used to be an old boy by the name of Ford.
Yes.
Down at Durlock there, and he had a load of rather rickety-shaped, that's the word, ramshackle greenhouses.
Yes.
And it didn't do them any good. They more or less collapsed.
Yeah.
After the war, old Ford had moved away, and Cyril Gold moved in.
Yep.
Well, they paid compensation for the greenhouses.
Yes.
And he got himself one of these new mobile greenhouses out of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, some good came out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there was a story that, in fact, the firing of the gun broke windows in the street. Did you?
It's possible, but I don't...
Yeah, well, I think it may be just a rumour.
I think that there was a fear that it might.
Yeah.
And I don't think the guns that they fired had a full charge. You know, they had a full charge.
Oh. I heard that they just lobbed them into the river, into the
Sandwich Bay. That was the idea of them. Yeah. There was another. What's the 12th Soup Heavies they were called? This lot of people that were there, and they also had guns at Adisham, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, on the old Elam Valley line, there was one down there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit in your story, this goes back before the war, but I'm just thinking about the sea, when you talked about the coast along the where you went as a boy at school, between the Chequers and the opening of the river. Where was the Chequer then? This was down on the bay somewhere.
Yeah, the Chequers were... You know the golf course?
Yes.
Well, it's about halfway up, about hole number 10 or something like that. There was a pub called the Chequers. It was also a dairy farm.
Yeah.
An old fellow by the name of Marsh had it, and there was him and his wife and daughter and a couple of sons had.
Yep.
And he used to take the milk and hawk it round.
Yes.
Round Deal.
Yes, I'm sorry, I got carried away now. I was stick to the war. What about rations? Are they a problem?
We had a charm like being working on the land.
Yeah.
We got extra rations for that.
More cheese for a start.
Yeah, well, more cheese for a start. But one of the things that cropped up during the war, we had a soldier come up the yard one day, and he said it was the governor about it. So he introduced him to my father, and he came and he went. And then Bert Warner, we had a shed up the top of the yard. We put the engines in.
Yep.
And this was in the close season, or sort of early summer. Father said to Bert Warner, I want you to get steam up in your engine and bring it out in the yard.
Right.
That caused a bit of a consternation. Warner couldn't see the point of that, but anyway, he did, and that happened. And then it transpired that this soldier that came up, they'd moved into what was the bank up the top of the street,
Yes.
You know where the bank was?
I know, yeah.
Well, they were in there, and there was about half a dozen of them. And it was just after Dunkirk. And the troops that came over were put in some woods there near Dover somewhere.
Yeah.
And these blokes that we got, they used to go and get the rations.
Right.
And to go and feed these troops.
Yes.
And it hadn't been going on for long before Father went and saw Mother one day and said, would you make those soldiers a cake? I got them and make a cake with, she said, you know, if they supplied the stuff to make it with, oh, well, that's different. Well, they supplied us with candied peel and, you know, everything that you couldn't get. Yeah, Mother, she was boiling, you know, you make a cake.
Yeah.
And these soldiers, they used to come up and we had a dartboard in the kitchen.
Yep.
And so the 2 or 3 of these blokes that were stationed up the street used to come up in the evenings, and 2 or 3 of the soldiers from down Polton, my sister, she was going out with one of them at the time, and we used to play darts in our kitchen.
Ah, good.
I used to get I'd get a terrible hammering because I couldn't play as well as they could.
Oh yeah, they were used to it.
Yeah.
Were they the same soldiers that used to keep watch on the top of the tower? Because up there,
the church tower?
On the church tower, you'll find initials and names written into the lead up there, which were clearly the soldiers during the war, keeping watch, presumably for paratroops or something. No?
I wasn't aware of that.
Then there were soldiers at Brook House too.
Oh yeah, brother. They were Brook House. Yeah, they were down there with they had a load of 4.7 anti-aircraft guns.
Yes.
Not field guns.
Field guns.
That was again to fire over into.
Yes.
In the bay.
Yes.
And they were, you go down Brook Street, and then you sort of go to the bottom and then turn left, and there's a sort of a straight bit that goes up to the back of the greenhouse.
I know that bit very well.
Yeah, well the guns were in place along
that line,
along that ditch, along there. They were all camouflaged in there. I think it was four or 5 of them in there. Yeah, and as I say, the soldiers were in Brook House.
Yep.
Well, then eventually that became a prisoner of war camp.
Yes.
Jerry prisoners down there.
Yes, and then after that it became the place for displaced people.
Yeah,
from the.
They didn't come out here. They were in Sandwich.
Yeah,
but they didn't come as far as us.
What about the Home Guard? Did you get any Home Guard experience? Were you involved?
Precious little, but again, I skived as much as I could, and I started off the war as the member of the Gilton Stirrup Pump Party.
Yes.
That was my father, Bert Warner, and myself.
Yep.
And do you remember old Mayan? The security.
No, I don't think I.
Well, he was a likeable old fellow, but a bit of a bumble.
Yep.
Anyway, he turned up one day with 2 buckets and a stirrup pump, and gave Warner and my father and myself a session of how you dealt with a stirrup pump. Whatever you do, didn't squirt it, you just sprayed it. And and then after a little while we had to go to Hamel, and there we were issued with a boiler suit and a dirty great big axe.
Yes.
And a permission to break into somebody's house if it was a light to put the fire out.
Yeah. Did you have a band round your arm?
Well, I was on the boiler suit, yeah.
Yeah, ARP or something?
Yeah. No, I don't know where.
What was it?
I don't know what the...
AFS was the other thing, Auxiliary Fire Service.
No, well, that was Uncle Earl. He was in charge of that. That was in the garage of the volunteer. That was their headquarters. Yeah.
Right.
And they used to meet at night and spend their, be in the volunteer most nights.
Waiting for something to
waiting for something to turn up. Yeah, but yeah,
But you never had to put a fire out.
Well, yes, actually, I did. One night, one of these jerry things.
I was just going to say, would you like a coffee?
No, it's all right, fine, thank you very much.
Sure?
Yes, Margaret, yes, we're doing very well here, I'm learning lots.
Early one morning, there again, I was in bed fast asleep. Margaret, she was living in Gilton House at the time. She was sleeping across the way. She came out and said, "They're dropping bombs." I dropped out of bed, and that was a Jerry gone over, and he dropped a bread basket over the...
Incendiary bombs.
Yep.
It was all incendiary bombs. But the amount of damage that did was very little. One of the incendiary bombs hit a bullock of old Margent's down in the yard there, and it killed that.
Yep.
One went in his Dutch barn and set the hay alight. That was quite a fire. We had one in the lawn and one in the bank of Gilton House.
Yep.
Two through the roof of the shed.
Yes. Oh, well, come on, you had something to do.
Yeah, Uncle Jim. Do you remember old Uncle Jim having it was a wagon with a top on it, where he used to keep all his nuts and bolts and screws. It was right in front of the garage doors, forge doors.
No, I don't think
That was long before.
But anyway, there was one bomb went through in there. We had paraffin in 45-gallon drums in the yard.
Yep.
One incendiary bomb went in the top and out of the bottom of this 45-gallon drum of paraffin, and the paraffin put the...
It ran down the gutter.
The paraffin put the incendiary bomb out, but the paraffin ran into the road, and just past the volunteer there was another incendiary bomb laying in the gutter. Yeah. And so when it got to that, it caught light, and so the road from the telephone box at the top of Gilton here down about to where Florrie Marshall used to live.
Yes. Yep.
That was all alight. We went down there, and there was a traffic warden there, no, a IRP warden there. He was trying to cordon it off, but of course he was running down the road. He could. But anyway, we turned up with a couple of buckets of water. He turned his back, and so we splashed this water, and the fire was out, and that was the end of that one sort of thing. There were one or two explosive ones amongst them. They used to burn for a bit and then go all bang.
Right.
But they didn't do any great damage as far as I could see.
No.
And there was also a couple of three phosphorus ones.
I didn't know that.
And they came down up by Mount Ephraim Mill.
Yeah. I remember talking to old Harry Huntley out of Richborough, and they had some of these unexploded incendiary bombs. They said they were wonderful things to throw in the fire under the pig swill, because you got a good fire going.
Yeah, I bet you did, yeah.
It made a lot of white smoke, they said.
Yeah. Well, they were unexploded incendiary bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
I took one to school. They didn't appreciate it at all.
They were nearly all magnesium.
Yep, they were. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the worst anti-war things that we had. Again, as the war progressed, the Spitfires had cannons.
Yes.
And they used to get these bloom cannon shells come down unexploded.
Ah. Yeah.
And people used to find them and play with them, and 2 or 3 people got blown up with them.
Did you, because I remember going and trying to find the remains of bombers that had come down, and seeing if you could pick up some interesting bits of them.
Well, the nearest one to us was a German fighter came down in Martin's Hop Garden.
Yes.
And he came down straight, and he went through in the Hop Garden, and he never broke a wire, and he and
yep.
They went down there immediately after it happened. People went down there and started making off with bits and pieces of it.
Yep.
But there was a gentleman there that made them put it all back.
Oh.
Yeah. And then eventually they loaded it up in a cart and dumped it up in Martin's yard here, and
right.
that's where it was for pretty well all the war. But the engine.
That would have gone.
Well, they did dig it out eventually, but the pilot, he came down in Sandwich Bay.
Right.
Yeah, he was.
I see. Yeah.
He bailed out of it.
Sensible man.
Yeah.
Well, that was jolly good.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of that you might like to talk about? We've covered it very well.
Yeah. Well, I had two experiences during the war. One evening I'd been tractoring for old Jerry Merton at Pedding.
Yes.
And it was knock-off time, so I was covering the tractor up all way down the back of the Grove at Staple. You know, the Grove. And as I was covering it up, there was a fence, and I could see an aeroplane in the fence, sort of thing.
Yes.
I stood there looking at it, and it didn't seem to do anything or go anywhere. And what it was, it turned out to be a Messerschmitt 110, and it was flying very low. And of course, you got the dip between us and Wingham.
Yes.
It had dropped down into there till it was as I say, it was in the fence.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it went like that, and well, there again, it was 200 yards away from me, I suppose. But it was only about 50 feet off the ground, going like the clappers, and disappeared into the distance.
Yeah.
And another experience I had, we was ploughing at Beakspawn, and that was another case. We was up here, and there was a valley down below, and we went across to the edge of the field, which was a fence. Did that. I uncoupled the plough and tipped it and looked over, and I was looking down on a German fighter.
Right.
And that was, and then as it come to the edge of the hole, he came up and over. Well, he, almost had a duck as it went over the top.
Yep.
And then that disappeared in the distance. That had a couple of Spitfires chasing it. Apparently they shot it down in Sandwich Bay.
Yeah.
But that was a close encounter with a. Well, I mean, there was no danger in it. He was all for getting home and getting his tea.
Yeah. Perhaps poor chap he didn't.
Well, I don't think he did. I think they did shoot him down.
No.
Yeah. But,
yeah, well, there we are.
Mm.
No, they were interesting times.
Well, they were. You never knew what was going to happen next. But at no stage did I think we were going to be invaded or were in any real danger. And I don't know whether it was my age or what, but there again, it didn't seem to affect anybody much. They carried on much about normal, but just after Dunkirk, it must have been pretty touch and go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in some ways that may have been your age, and certainly it was mine. I was younger, of course, and the whole thing was rather fun in some way. It didn't seem to be touching my life very much.
Well, that's it. Well, that was my... Where were you?
Well, at that time, I was in Sussex, in a school there.
Yeah.
It was fun. I remember being machine gunned, or so I thought. I was carrying the cricket bag back from a cricket match, and had to get into the ditch. But again, it was one bomber being chased by a fighter, and I think that the fighter was more interested in the bomber than me.
Well, yeah. Well, that was another one. There was a couple of Jerry fighters came over one day and did a bit of a saute round.
Yeah.
And then they opened up their machine guns and went out with their machine guns going full blast.
Yeah.
Margaret was thrashing down for old Wolf Drew down at Cop Street, Brook Street. And they came through and they set light to a fodder stack in Weddenton Road.
Yep.
But that's all the damage they did. They knocked a few tiles off in the village.
Yep.
And but again, that was another one of these things that they weren't doing anything in particular, just interested in getting home and getting rid. They're having old Marsh down at the Checkers down. What's the name? He heard a noise. Him and his wife and daughter came out to see what was going on. And when they went back indoors, a cannon shell landed in the middle of the tea table and...
Really?
Yeah, blowing all their tea things all over the room.
Now that was the Checker in the village?
No, that was the one down at Deal.
That was the Deal one?
Yeah.
Well, there we are. I think you've done wonderfully on there. I'm going to put this on a CD and bring it home to you. See what happens.
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you, Cyril, very much. That's been going on for 32 minutes. You didn't know you could talk for so long.